Hello and welcome to People Often Suck podcast, where we bring you true stories of some of the most awful people while also giving credit to some unsung heroes out there. I'm TC, and with me as always is...
Me.
Well,
Tom.
Oh,
it's Tom.
Yeah, I'm glad you at least said who you are. Unlike episode 1 of season 1, you didn't say who you were. But anyways.
They didn't need to know.
It's true. I guess in time they found out who you were. Before we begin, do us a huge favor and slap the like button, leave a comment, and share with us, someone you know.
Share with someone.
Yeah, someone. Well, yeah, we'd like you to share us, our podcast, with others, but also share with us any of your stories out there that we might find interesting and put on our podcast, right? Wouldn't you want that, Tom?
Yeah, I'm sure there's something on the internet I haven't seen yet.
It's true. I think we've been uncovering a lot of things that we haven't seen, and like, really, people can actually get worse. But yeah, there you go. So it would really help us grow if you do share about our podcast with others. We would, I'm like tongue-tied today. I don't know why. Also, follow us on Facebook and X for updates for future episodes as well as silly posts. And now, without further ado,
get her done.
Now it's time to do. Now let's get started.
Okay. Well, I think you're up.
I am. I'm a little nervous about this one here. It is a story that comes from, let's see, where was this? Polk County. Do you know where that is?
Just by county? Yeah. Oh, obviously, yeah. I know all the counties.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to look that up and see if you can find out where it is. But anyhow.
I'm not doing homework.
So a Nikki Lafredo? I think actually that's pretty darn good.
I don't know. I haven't seen how it's spelled. I'll just assume it's correct.
I think it is. Lafredo.
Okay.
Nikki Lafredo, she's 42, was minding her own business one early July 2024. So last year, at the time of this recording, which was in 2025. But she was minding her own business while she was walking home after buying some snacks. Kind of set the mood there.
I don't know. What kind of snacks? We're talking beef jerky, trail mix, some Pringles.
I have a feeling if she's in Polk County, that it's probably pigskins. I mean, I don't know why I would pick that, but I'm just getting the feeling that it might have been something like that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So not far from where she lived in Polk County was a 43-year-old man named James Johnson. Thank you, James, for having an easy name.
Yeah, finally,
that's what I'm now. That's the criteria when I look for stories, is I put in true crime experiences with easy names.
that probably doesn't offer up a lot of options, I would think.
Now I think it's like 2 stories. So I'll have some in future episodes here that will definitely screw me up. Don't worry.
Well, I'm not.
Yeah, thank you. So according to reports, James got into an argument with his girlfriend while over the phone. Okay. He is a lifelong user of marijuana and Coke. And we're not talking about Coca-Cola.
Oh,
but we are talking about the thing that used to be in Coca-Cola back in the day.
He likes to party.
He likes to party. So on the night of this incident, and now mind you, I did say the morning for Nikki. Okay, so just follow along. Back it up as if the episode started the morning of, and then it went like 12 hours earlier.
Okay, so Nikki's getting some snacks.
So that was in the morning. Now
James,
12 hours earlier.
James, a user of
marijuana. Yep. And cocaine.
Cocaina.
An ingredient at one time of Coca-Cola.
Back when it was good.
Shut up. I don't know. I would have never had that drink back then. So
we need to start a
a campaign to try to
Yeah.
get them to bring it back.
Bring it back.
Actually, I thought I heard somewhere that somebody was trying to push Coca-Cola to bring it back. I don't know how that would go over, but I would not recommend that as a option.
It's because you're a square.
I'm a square. Okay, I'm okay with that on this one. So on the night of the incident, James was out smoking weed. Shocker. And making food deliveries. The irony there. He's taking food to other people while he's smoking weed. And he's doing these food deliveries with a friend of his when he gets into this argument with his girlfriend over the phone. Now, after the argument, James decided he didn't want to go home to argue anymore and fight with his girlfriend. So he decided, I'm going to stay out, basically through the whole night. Now, it doesn't say exactly when in the morning that Nikki got up and went to the store to get some snacks, but obviously it was morning snacks that she was going for, and it had to have been fairly early in the morning. Could have been 5 a.m., 6 a.m. It doesn't really say in the story. So James, who is now high on weed and delivering, food to a lot of other non-weed smoking people with his friend, I guess at some point he must have dropped his friend off. He decided to drive around aimlessly in the neighborhood when he came across Nikki. Now, I don't know any other stories about Polk County, if it's really a bad area or whatever, but I don't think James was looking for this to be a nice casual encounter, a nice friendly neighborly wave or anything like that. When James spotted Nikki, and as he was driving by, he rolled down his window and basically told her to come check it out. I'm not sure what it was. It doesn't specify what it was. But I think she took it the wrong way, and so she allegedly responded with some sort of profanity. Like, you mother beep, 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 beep.
She doing a Roadrunner impersonation?
Probably.
And that set him off? He's more of a Wile E. Coyote guy?
Probably, yes. So James didn't like that.
Oh, no.
No, James. He did not like that response at all. So he decided to pull up a little closer and shoot some rounds of bullets at her. I mean, at the ground, actually. Well, he says at the ground. That is his claim. Maybe that's what it was. Hey, I want to show you it, meaning his gun or the bullets? I'm not sure. So he claims that he shot at the sidewalk with the intent of scaring Nikki. I would imagine that would have scared her, would have scared probably anyone.
Mm-hmm.
After firing the shots, he drove off. Like I had some cocaine myself. And
you didn't share.
And I didn't share. No, I did not share.
I'm so mad at you right now.
I get you some Coca-Cola later.
No, I don't want your pity Coke.
So he drove off, not realizing that he actually hit Nikki in both thighs, including one shot that pierced her femoral artery.
Femoral?
Thank you. Femoral artery, causing catastrophic blood loss.
Yeah, You basically you bleed out within minutes.
So he must have been a pretty crappy shooter because he thought he was shooting at the sidewalk.
Hey, he just likes to party. He doesn't have time to go to the range and practice.
He thought he shot the sidewalk. How do you confuse the sidewalk with a person's thigh?
You don't get it, man. You don't
Apparently
party.
not.
You don't.
And by the way,
it.
where's the thigh on the legs? It's the upper part of the legs. Nowhere near the sidewalk.
It's like 2 feet off the ground from the sidewalk.
Maybe she was a tall girl. Maybe they were 3 feet off the sidewalk.
Still,
she's one of those slender. What do they call them? Those alien creatures that are out there in the Midwest sticks. The slender men. You don't know anything about them?
You mean Slender Man?
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, that's not an alien.
isn't it like a creepy creature that attacks people?
I'm not really
Not as
up
well
to date.
versed.
Yeah, I'm not really up to date with all things Slender
So
Man.
maybe she could have been the first Slender Woman. And maybe
Sure.
James got scared.
It's 2025. And
James
anything's
got
possible.
scared, and he's like, "Oh my God, Slender Woman!"
Yeah. I mean, you can't rule that out.
No, I wouldn't rule it out. No way. So he was arrested for shooting back. This is actually back on August 2nd of 2024, because Nikki didn't die immediately.
No, like I said, you bleed out. It's not.
Yes,
it's
but
not
thankfully,
instant death.
I say thankfully. Unfortunately, she did die, but thankfully she was still alive long enough that, in fact, she survived for several days in the hospital. So it's amazing that they couldn't have somehow helped her to stay alive beyond several days, but she stayed alive long enough to describe the attacker and his vehicle to the first responders.
Wow.
So James was identified as a suspect within an hour after the shooting, but again wasn't arrested until August 2nd for some reason. Because remember, the shooting happened in July of 2024. So evidence did show that James had texted his girlfriend that he had recently popped somebody, but Nikki's name, of course, wasn't mentioned. So he admits it to a certain extent. That's one of the pieces of evidence that, was against him. James, at some point, with meeting with the police over, X amount of days and interviews and stuff like that, admitted eventually that he had told many lies in multiple police interviews. So at some point while he was in jail, now we're jumping to March 2025, with extreme guilt, while in jail, coupled with the growing evidence, led him to admit responsibility for the shooting in a message that he had sent to his girlfriend from a jail computer. First of all, the girlfriend is still with him? Kind of should be some red flags there.
Clearly not everyone's making the best choices in Polk County.
No, apparently not. So, due to several prior drug felonies, he was not permitted to have a gun, by the way, that led up to this time in 2024. So, it's interesting to wonder, how did he get, this gun when he wasn't supposed to have one in his possession because of his prior felonies?
Why, TC, are you saying he, as a criminal, broke the law and still managed to get a gun illegally? But that's against the law. So you must be mistaken.
Good observation, Mr. Watson.
Yeah.
I literally put that on my paper, by the way. I was waiting to see if you were going to actually say something, and then I put that on there.
You actually did.
So, well, it's interesting. So the investigators found out that a friend of James had pawned a handgun for him.
Yeah.
Shocker there, right?
Yeah.
So the prosecutor, Levi Grove, thank you, Levi, for having an easy name, opened the trial by saying the defendant was trolling the neighborhood looking for a reason to use that gun, which kind of stands to reason based on, as what we've heard about the tale for poor Nikki. So James feels bad. He felt terrible and didn't mean to hurt her. He certainly didn't mean to kill her. A little too late. How does the term go? FAFO?
I mean, sure, I guess that could be applied.
So the jury saw a number of surveillance and doorbell cameras. To this day and age, you can't get away from a camera being somewhere.
Dude, I know.
So it showed a gold-colored SUV circling the area, then pulling up next to Nikki, and then speeding away as she fell to the ground. James was convicted of first-degree murder on April 9th, 2025. He is awaiting sentence as of this recording and could face life in prison.
Good.
And if you go on our social media, you can see the picture of poor Nikki who lost her life. A very beautiful young lady.
You didn't get a picture of this.
No, they didn't
I
actually.
had to bite my tongue.
No, I know. We're trying to be very good. Very good. Why am I talking so horribly today?
Have a sip of water.
I'm going to in a moment. But apparently we're trying to be very good at not cursing. And so sometimes when you hear these stories, you really do want to like say openly what you want to say. And maybe one day, I know Tom and I have talked about, maybe developing a behind the scenes or behind the firewall Patreon, whatever type of situation where if you join that POS club, whatever we're going to call it, you can hear the real Tom and TC talk.
Yeah, I think having like a uncensored version, not necessarily a retelling, but just like
you won't hear Mother Puss Bucket on there.
I've never said that before, that's for sure. But yeah,
I do like that word from Elf.
Yeah, if people are interested, maybe come up with like additional stories that are uncensored, and we can let our sailor mouth loose.
I've never been a sailor, but okay. Well, that is my
again. I had to bite my tongue.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So we're going to go on to your lovely POS story. What do you have to share with us today, Mr. Tom?
So mine's probably a little bit more mainstream than yours. I had only briefly heard about this story back when it happened, and I didn't know the full details or really the follow up as to what happened to this guy after all the events took place. So when I came across it, I dug a little into it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a lot more interesting than what the media had initially portrayed, because they just talk about the initial crime,
sure,
and then on to the next new bad thing of the week. So back in 2002, not 2002. That sounds weird.
Wow, we're both having a great
yeah.
time talking today.
We were just out too late.
That is somewhat true. But anyhow, so back in 2002.
Tom, different Tom, and Jackie Hawks.
So you say a different Tom.
So I say. Tom and Jackie Hawks, they retired. And they traveled in their 55-foot yacht until about, yeah.
So they have some money.
They had a little bit of money. And they basically, if you think about it, they sold their home and just decided to travel and live on this yacht.
That's what I'm going to do when I retire.
Good luck with that.
Well, wait a minute. I could hire you to be the captain of my yacht. Lisa will be the first mate. I think this could work out.
I mean, I could be your
skipper. Wait, no, Gilligan.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the hops. Hops.
I could be like the chef.
The chef.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever, other than your amazing Rice Krispie treats that are the bomb.
That's all I'm gonna make.
That's all. Okay. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. So anyway, get off track here. So, 2002, they retired. They're traveling in their yacht. In 2004, Tom planned to sell it so that they can live closer to their son and their new grandchild.
Okay. So they only did it for 2 years.
Yeah. And then the grandkid shows up, and they're like, you know what? We want to be able to live closer to
home.
you.
Yeah. Did it say where?
So this actually kind of all took place in Newport Beach.
Oh, in California.
In California.
Not in Polk County.
Not in Polk County. Not in Florida either.
What? You are being so nice to Florida lately.
I felt kind of bad.
I
was
very
picking on him.
I'm very proud of you.
But I also got stories lined up, so don't get too comfy, Florida.
Oh, trust me, I have some too. So don't. Oh, wait a minute. You know what? Polk County. I did do a Florida story. I just looked. Polk County's in Florida, so we did do a Florida story today.
See, if I'd known, I would have let the people know too.
Oh, we could have done the sound effect.
Yes, that's the whole
Darn
point of it.
I know. Okay.
All right. Anyway, so they're trying to sell their yacht. In comes Skylar DeLeon.
The name alone already sounds like a scumbucket.
So Skylar, a convicted felon at the time.
Well, okay, so there you go.
But Tom and Jackie did not know this.
Oh, innocent pokes.
So Skylar came with his then pregnant wife and daughter to Newport to check they showed interest in buying this yacht.
Okay.
And they threw out an offer. Tom had told his son Matt that they actually had a buyer lined up now,
Okay.
which would be Skylar, and that the whole thing should go through within the next couple days. Well, so that was the last time Matt spoke to his son. I mean, his father.
Yeah, as long as you get the relationship right
Yeah.
here, the story will go
Yes.
well. Okay.
So Matt, that was the last time he talked to his father, Tom.
Oh, I have a feeling this is not due to a good reason.
Not so much. So when Matt hadn't heard from his dad or his mom, he kind of had one of those gut feelings that something's not right here. 'Cause
Right.
This is kind of a relationship where, they were.
They probably talked often.
Yeah, they were very much up to date on everything that was
Sure.
going on in their lives.
Sure.
So Matt had called up his uncle Jim, who lived closer, and
Okay.
asked if he could maybe go check it out. And so when Jim gets to where the yacht should be docked, he immediately noticed some things were not right. So
Was the yacht still there?
yacht was still there,
Okay.
but little things that only somebody who owns a boat or a yacht would know.
Oh.
Somebody
Okay.
who's trained in
Like some things that you know that you have to do in order to have
Yes.
a yacht or boat or whatever
Yes.
properly docked and
Correct.
blah, blah, blah and all. Okay, got it.
So one of the things being the dinghy wasn't tied properly, and the motor was still sitting in the water.
Oh, yes. I do know that you do lift the motor out.
He could see from the dock that the yacht, all the tarps were off, and there was just a random towel hanging from the porthole.
Okay.
It was also discovered that no money, because after he saw this,
Right.
no money had ever been deposited into their account.
So theoretically, the sale was supposed to have happened.
Theoretically.
And so there should have been money deposited into the account, and then nice handshakes, a christening of the boat in the new owners, and they go on their merry way.
Mm-hmm. And you get it notarized and everything.
Got it. Okay.
So all these things start adding up. Can't get a hold of them. The yacht's just totally mismanaged, and there's no money in their accounts. So they get Newport police involved. Police search the yacht, and they find a receipt from Target dated 2 days after the supposed buy was supposed to take place. And the receipt listed trash bags, bleach, and Tums, because somebody had a, upset tummy.
Well, maybe the upset tummy caused a throw up, which then they went and had the bleach to clean off the deck, and then, of course, the towels to dry it off. Yeah, it all makes sense. Mm-hmm. I see no red flags here at all.
Yo. Well, they went to the Target, the police did, to get surveillance, which, FYI, apparently Target has some of the most high-tech surveillance period.
Really?
Yeah, they have high-depth cameras in color, and I believe they get sound, and they're everywhere. And police actually rely very heavily on these cameras to catch criminals. So just, if you remember last season.
So note to yourself, if you're going to rip off a store, don't make it Target.
Well, if you remember last season, when I talked about that TikToker that
that's right.
stupidly
She
kept
ended up
allegedly
going.
stealing from Target.
Yeah, she was, I thought, Target was the first one, and then she went to Walmart. It was something
No.
like that.
It was like she had first done it at Walmart.
Oh,
and
and
years
then
later
went
to
to
Target. And then she did it again at Target, allegedly. Yeah, it's because their camera system's like really awesome.
Wow. Okay, good to know.
Yeah, and in fact, it gets
So-
even crazier than that, but that's like another story for another
I
day.
now know not to think I'm hiding in an aisleway picking my nose, because they likely will get it on video.
Oh, yeah. They see it. They're recording it. They're posting it.
I'm sorry, Target, for, that day there was a lot of snot. Sorry.
So the surveillance actually showed the police that the buyer of all these items was Skylar's wife, pregnant wife,
No way.
Jennifer DeLeon. And when police went to their house and questioned Jennifer about the Hawks, like, have you heard from them? She stated that, golly, we've been trying to get a hold of them too. We've got all these questions about how to operate the boat.
Lies.
Blah, 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 blah.
Lies.
Yeah. So they're like, oh, so you did buy the boat. And she's like, oh, yeah, I got the paperwork right here. And sure enough, they had the paperwork that was notarized saying that the sale did go through. It had the signatures and everything, and the notary public certification.
But no money has changed hands.
Yeah. Well, Skylar claimed he gave the Hawks a briefcase full of money. So
a briefcase full of money.
Yeah. So it wasn't like account
Because that's
to
how
account.
you buy things that are expensive
Yeah.
nowadays. Okay.
Yeah. And that they drove off in their silver Honda CRV.
Never to be seen again, because they're going for the border.
Well, funny you should say that,
Oh.
because the Honda.
And by the way, I do not know any of the story ahead of time. So
Okay.
if I'm lit, I really don't know any of the story at all.
Well,
so.
it would make sense. I mean, Newport Beach being, what, a 2-hour drive from the border?
Sure, but Newport Beach resident having a Honda Civic?
Well, they technically weren't a resident.
Oh, I guess you're right. Okay.
So, yeah, they found the Honda in Mexico a month later.
Oh, and TJ?
It doesn't necessarily say TJ, it just says in Mexico, next to a mobile home. And the owner of the home said it was actually given to him by his friend, Skylar.
No way.
Yeah. Well, this prompted police to arrest Skylar and
And the Prego wife?
actually no,
Well, she's an accomplice. If
she is an
something
accomplice, but
Yeah.
really the evidence points to Skylar.
Right.
For money laundering charges.
Oh.
But that's just to kind of hold them while they investigate further, because they
Okay.
still don't have any evidence that a murder took place.
Because they don't have any bodies yet.
Right. They found a laptop and a camera belonging to the Hawks in their residence.
Oh, wait, in
Skylar
Skylar's...
and
okay.
Jennifer's residence. Yeah.
Well, maybe they were holding on to it for them.
Yeah. Well, and the police also found a business card for a L.A. police detective, Joe. Oh man, I can't even read my own writing. Joe Bahina, who was working with Mexican police on the 2003 murder case of John Jarvie. This is getting kind of crazy.
Yeah. So
So we went from a missing person
the
to
layers of onion peels peeling back is okay. So now we have this other thing.
Well, it turns out Jarvie and,
Also knew Skylar.
and DeLeon served time together.
Oh,
And
okay.
when they got out, DeLeon lured Jarvie to Mexico for a big score.
I think we all have different definitions of what a big score is.
Yeah. Well, apparently the big score was Skylar would take all the money and then just kill Jarvie. That's the big score.
So Skylar was the hitman?
I wouldn't say hitman. Just a POS who tricked this guy into helping him get some money, and then instead of splitting it, he just killed him and took all of it.
Oh. Well, sometimes it's better not to share.
Mm-hmm. Well, now back to the Hawks case.
The missing bodies.
So the paperwork that said that, everything's on the up and up. Well, the notary who certified the paperwork was actually paid in cash by Skylar to backdate the documents to the day that the Hawks went missing.
So that notary is in trouble for falsifying documents.
A little bit of trouble.
Yeah. Was it a suitcase of cash that the notary got?
No, they didn't get a suitcase.
Well, it could
It's probably like a little envelope.
Yeah,
you know.
probably. Okay.
Now we have, gosh, my writing.
That's why I type mine out.
Yeah, I got to stop dictating and drinking at the same time.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I don't.
That might actually help if you drank a little more while you were doing it.
Maybe. So Alonzo, I'm gonna say this says Mansion, a jailer in Seal Beach.
A jailer in Seal Beach.
Yep, keep up. Admitted to his role in the murders
Of the Hawks.
Hold on. So DeLeon convinced him, Alonzo,
Okay.
that the Hawks were evil and had to be taken out.
Well, for sure. I mean, they sound like horrible people.
So this Alonzo is just
Obviously
an idiot.
stupid.
Yeah.
Yes.
John Kennedy,
Wait.
no relation,
Oh, okay.
was another one of DeLeon's accomplices, brought on the boat basically to overpower the Hawks. So the day that the sale was supposed to take place, instead of bringing his, pregnant wife and little girl to put them at ease,
Right.
Instead, he brought his two buddies who
Or-
took over the boat, overpowered them both.
Oh, further scums.
Yeah.
Yes.
They handcuffed them, taped their eyes and mouth, and went out to sea. Tied them to an anchor and
No way.
threw them overboard. Jennifer wasn't on the boat at the time,
Well,
But-
she's pregnant. It's kind of hard for her to get on the boat.
but in 2006, so 2 years later, she was given 2 life term sentences.
How
back to back.
how about the unborn baby?
Well, she did have the baby.
But was the baby found as an accomplice as well? I mean, the baby was there at the time.
Well, so was the little girl. They had a daughter.
I say throw them all in.
Skylar was convicted 2 years later and sentenced to death.
Wait. How was Skylar sentenced 2 years later after his wife? He's the one who did the majority of the dirty work.
Yeah, but think about it. A lot of these trials take forever.
I just,
They take way too long.
the really, obviously, this.
And remember, convicted. So he already had the trial. It just took this long to convict him.
Unreal. Okay, so obviously the Hawks being murdered in a very horrific way. I mean, that already gives me the chills about just being out there in the ocean and you can't do anything about it and you're thrown over the side with an anchor, which means you ain't going to be able to swim your way back up to the surface. But so that is really sad in of itself. But the other really, really sad part of all of this is you have a small child that no longer has a mommy and daddy that's in their lives, which
Well,
I guess in some ways they were
they might be better off.
they might be. I hope. And then you have a baby who will never know mom and dad.
Also, might be better off.
True. I just hope that they landed in a nice family home situation.
That's all you can hope for
because
in this
foster care is not always the best.
So
Wow.
Skylar was convicted 2 years later and sentenced to death, as well as John Kennedy, the person who helped overpower them. Now, Alonzo,
Wait, John Kennedy was sentenced to death?
Yep. Alonzo, the jailer, he was only given 20 years. Don't know why. So,
Really got you tongue-tied there.
yeah.
Huh?
Well,
Okay.
I kind of dig some. I was doing like some real digging on this one because I was curious. Like, okay, he got sentenced to death. Has he been sentenced to death yet? Because this was 20 years ago.
Right.
So, this was the part that kind of blew my mind. Let's see. I wrote, it should be noted that Schuyler was actually born John Jacobson. During the trial, Schuyler's attorney claimed that he did all this so he can afford a sex change.
You kind of threw me there for a loop on that one.
I was
Like
a little
what?
bit like, really?
So wait. So are you telling me that Schuyler is
John Jacobson.
John Jacob
but-
Jingleheimer Smith?
Don't dead name.
Okay.
Okay, now I found that out. I was like, oh, okay. I never knew what, like, I had heard about the story. I didn't know what the backstory behind, like, why they did this. You just figured, like, oh, maybe they just wanted the boat. Maybe no, he wanted the boat. He wanted to sell it, and he wanted to get a sex change. His pregnant wife was A-okay with him doing whatever it took.
Wow.
In 2009,
So he was going to use, theoretically, he was going to steal this boat, then sell it, and take the proceeds. Am I following along here? Take the proceeds to then follow through on a sex change operation to turn him into a theoretical female, which
Yes.
means that now Jennifer is going to be married to a female. In a roundabout way on paperwork, right?
yeah,
Okay.
caught up.
I didn't think that I could have followed that bouncing ball as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of people had to die for this.
And pulling in some really scummy idiots of the world to be a part of it.
But you know what? The blessing is they're no longer on the streets. So, that's one silver lining.
That is true, but now...
But real fast, in 2009, he got his wish and started his transition.
No, he did not.
Yes, the state, California, tried to block this at the cost because this was going to cost
Sure.
taxpayers.
Oh, yeah.
But California Attorney General
At the time.
Kamala Harris overturned the block so prisoners can get the gender-affirming care that they need and deserve. And in 2023, so only a few years ago, Schuyler was given surgery and breast augmentation.
So this is 19 years later that he
Yeah.
went through this. Mm-hmm. Which, if he was at the time, I'm sorry if I forgot. How old, did it say how old he was at the time that all of this happened back in 2004?
It didn't.
Okay, let's just throw out there. He had to have been at least 30.
Okay.
Maybe 30?
Maybe late 20s. Who knows?
Okay. So just because it helps me with math, let's say 30. So you're telling me that at the age of 49, he now is having, or did have, and he's now the belle of the ball in prison.
Yeah. It's like, this was the shocking part of the story, but the upsetting...
That was the shocking part of the story?
Yeah.
There's several. There's several shocking parts of that story.
Well, I know, but like, because I never knew exactly where this ended up. Like, did the death penalty actually go through? It's like, oh no.
Well, now
actually,
the death penalty has been,
yeah.
in the state of California.
But it's like, oh no, actually, quite the opposite. In fact, he was given a free transition surgery. I'm just like, wait, what? Wait, so all those people died for nothing?
And
he still got his
and he
wish.
still got his wish on our dime.
Yeah. So again, I'm just like, you know what? If you're an adult, you want to do these things on your own.
That's your own price. I mean, that's your own.
Go for
pay
it.
for
Do
it
it.
yourself.
The fact that people died for this, like, no. I think the true punishment should have been No, you don't get to.
Yeah.
That's your punishment.
And let me ask you, I mean, we this story went a little bit longer than our normals.
Oh, yeah. I apologize. I'm sorry.
Well, you were a slow talker on that one. But I would imagine they have never found those bodies.
No, they never did. There's no way to.
I mean, you don't know where they dropped them. So you don't know how deep the water was in that area.
I mean, you can
And
literally
how
just
many
drive
little
for
fishies enjoyed food.
Well, I mean, you can literally you can drive for an hour in any direction,
Yeah.
and they'll never be found.
Whatever happened to the yacht?
Oh, there was no update on the yacht. I imagine it's technically still in possession of the family, so maybe they ended up selling it. I honestly don't know, but it just sucks that this couple had to die for literally no reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole purpose of the Hawks wanting to sell was to be closer to,
their grandkid.
And now that grandkid's never going to grow up having, grandma and grandpa from that side of the family.
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So please tell me you've got a much
happier
yes, story.
I do have one story that hopefully should drag us out of the horrible doldrums of what you just shared. Jeez. I don't even know how to talk about this. Well, mine is, I guess the headlines I would say is a Boy Scout rescue. So like a scene out of a movie, and really kind of a scary nightmare of a movie. Think of yourself if you went hiking, okay? And you're hiking with your wife and your dog. Okay, and just people out there who have already listened to our podcast episodes know how much we love our animals in life. So you're out hiking, you're over in Honolulu, and you're hiking the Wamanua Trail. those names. Waimea. Do you know what it is? You don't. Okay, I'm not even gonna.
Well,
okay,
I'm not gonna attempt it.
It's a trail that's above Pearl City. There you go.
All right.
So they're out there hiking, and unfortunately, the worst nightmare in the world happened. Well, not the worst nightmare in the world because you just shared one. Mm-hmm. But if you were hiking and a nightmare scenario was to happen, it happened to this poor couple and their dog. Mm-hmm. So JD and Amy and their dog Smokey were on this 2-mile hike that somehow ended up on a 7-mile nightmare. JD's phone was dead. It was starting to get dark. They had no water. I mean, it's not doing well. And what's even worse is that poor little Smokey had cuts on the bottom of his paws. And so
this is supposed to be a happy story.
No, it is. But I'm setting it up so it made it hard for him to walk.
Okay.
And he was more of a, typical family medium-sized dog. It wasn't like a little tiny, chihuahua that you could just carry out. So it made it harder for JD to really be able to carry this dog out on this hike. But thankfully, out of nowhere, a 12-year-old Boy Scout named David King and his mom, Christine, happened to come across JD and Amy and Smokey. So what's interesting is that, when they came across him, David, this little 12-year-old, noticed something was up and asked JD, hey, do you need some help? And of course, JD immediately responded with yes. So David was he was 3 miles in, or 3 miles short, I should say, of getting his 15-mile hike merit badge. That's the purpose of why he was out there doing this hike, and his mom joined him with him. So in spite of that endeavor, knowing that he would be cutting his 15-mile badge short, he immediately jumped in and lent a hand, okay? First, he suggested that they build a stretcher by using 2 lengths of wood and stringing their T-shirts across it, a technique that David had learned from his Eagle Scout older brother. And so what that did is it created a scenario where they could put Smokey on it. Now, it was his idea to make the stretcher, as his mom says. We didn't think it would work because we didn't think the dog would even get on the stretcher. But Smokey was happy to get on that stretcher. So someone, they presumably say it's David, knew the way back to the parking lot well. He's a Boy Scout. He should know his way, right? So as they worked together, sometimes in twos, sometimes in fours, to get Smokey to safety, despite his injuries, they occasionally would stop, and Smokey would hop off, knowing that he was putting a lot of undue stress on these poor individuals. So Smokey, would walk a little bit despite his injuries. Then they would stop, and he would jump back on, and then they would drag him, on the stretcher further. But this beautiful little story of, he got them all out of there, this 12-year-old little kid. And later on, as he was talking to the local news station there, he said we were off on a hike and a good way to be prepared to, he's telling people, if you're going to go on a hike, be prepared with all the proper stuff. Make sure you have water with you. Make sure you understand your trails well enough to know that if something starts to not look familiar, you need to backtrack and figure it out. And so here he is on this Channel 2 news station over there in Honolulu, kind of like giving all these tips for hikers on how to be safe and all that stuff. But in the meantime, he helped out JD, Amy, and little Smokey, who got the attention needed to patch up his paws and get him back to full health. And that was a wonderful thing.
That's awesome.
So I knew that initially would disturb you, thinking that this was going to be a bad story, but no, it ended up being a good story.
Yeah, that's much nicer than what I said.
Way nicer than what you said. I mean, there was no anchors involved.
15 miles, though, like consecutively, or?
Well, that's one of the Barrett badges that they have to earn, is a 15-mile hike. I don't think you have to do it consecutively.
Okay, so you could do like 1 mile a day if you wanted.
I think.
I don't know.
I mean, anybody out there who's listening to this, if you happen to know, or were a Boy Scout at one time,
15 just seems
go on our
excessive.
social media for this story and correct us and let us know, is it consecutive or is it concurrently?
Yeah. Well, cool. So,
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah. I'm in a much better place now.
Well, I hope so.
Hopefully
because
everyone else is.
Your story really sucked.
Yeah, it did.
I mean, even my story didn't suck that much.
Yeah, well, I'd
You're
take
going-
it to the extreme.
You're going for the gusto, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of you. Well, I think because you went, really long in your sucky story, we'll go ahead and probably wrap it up here. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, if that's it, then I guess let's get out of here. Just a reminder, everything you heard was written by yours truly.
Truler, what is going on?
You're contagious.
Jeez.
Written, hosted by...
I'm not going to mention about the fact that in your story you did say trailer.
Trialer?
You did say that.
Instead of Skyler? Or
No.
instead of trial?
Trial, yeah.
Oh, God. All right. The caffeine's leaving my body. Got to get out of here. All right. Written and hosted by Tom and TC. Produced by Mark Walligren. Recorded here at the Kilroy Was Here recording studio. And yeah, just appreciate you all sticking around, listening to this. And if you think there's anything we'd be interested in, shoot us a DM somewhere, Facebook, Instagram, X. And honestly, just if you could really just share us, that we really need it. I'm literally on my knees right now.
Sounding a little pathetic there, but okay.
I know. No, but honestly, yeah, if you could just share us with like a friend or something, just say, hey, I heard about this new podcast. They're really super awesome. They sound real handsome.
Okay. Now you're lying.
Yeah. So, like us, comment, good, bad, whatever. And until next time, just be good humans for F's sake.